Good afternoon. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to today's recap and look ahead. So last night, what was it, 5 o'clock, all of a sudden, boom, they drop the investigation against Clinton. No more criminal potential charges, and, futures open up, they're up 30 handles. So I think every trader in their head probably was, you know what, they're not giving us that oversold bounce trade, which they didn't. They gave you a trade today with some room in most sectors, but, different stocks, some are opened up and are lower than where they opened, etc. So that's why traders don't like big up opens. It's hard to gauge the action. Even if you see small flashes of relative weakness, some buying does come in. But anyway, in my head, I'm like, okay, in tomorrow's note, in Redler All Access, I'm going to list our 2025 names, where you could still buy and where you probably take the trade, and where, is that gray area where it probably could still go, but you might not want to be long there because it's here or there. But if you start shorting too early because you think this is a bounce to be sold, you can get run over because of the size of the move that we had lower. So does that make sense? Meaning easy oversold bounce, which is never easy, but where you have room to play a bounce, then maybe where you want to sell it and say, okay, that was my good oversold bounce. Now the market needs to prove to me how strong we really are. And before just shorting a rally, you want to make sure that it's in a spot that at least you could trade around it if you had to. So if you go to the chart of the S&P cash, pretty potent day. Okay, here was your 8 down days. I remember tweeting saying that everyone's trying to scare the bejesus out of everyone. The biggest down move or the most down days in a row since 1980. I'm like, but not even one of these days, meaning like percentage-wise. But anyway, so for today, we talked about the easy part of the trade, taking you back to retest this spot, which is the broken floor, which was about, 21.14 to 21.19. So there was a trade up to there, and then it pushed even higher, 21.25, right to the 21-day. So engulf the 8-day, touching the 21-day, and, you still have this descending trend line right here. So, if you want to replay, like it's almost like, post-Brexit already. Like this was your post-Brexit when everyone thought that, the world was going to end after they decided to leave. Then you had your 3-day move up, sideways, and then you had this descending little trend line here, which, it wound up breaking above. So right here, you had to switch your gears, get your stock, and make your money for July. And then it became a huge range again. So here, it's almost like everyone said, oh, you know what, with the FBI, Hillary's going to get indicted or whatever's going to happen. Now Trump could win. And it's almost like today they said, you know what, Trump's not winning. So you're getting this, take-back trade. I think this was the Friday, basically when, or somewhere around here, maybe one of these 2 days where he came out and said they were opening it. So basically took it all back in 4 days or 5 days. So now the question is, tomorrow, there'll be election, there'll be polling all day, or not even polling, results all day. And the question is, do we get another little day, another push up towards the descending channel, okay, that's been controlling this tape since, the summer, since August, or, tomorrow do we open down a little bit, pack and fill, which would be a little bit better, down like 10 or 8 handles or whatever. And then we'll have to figure out what happens here, okay? It's going to be hard tomorrow, I was actually looking at, puts and calls. So for Friday, the 205 puts, okay, we closed around 2:21:30. So 213 in the spiders. So let's go to the spiders real quickly, just because I'm talking spiders for options. So by the way, now you have a gap, guys. Okay, here is where we were saying we can get to. You traded through it, and you also have a gap. So we'll see. You can't get too bearish if you hold above this gap. What did this gap do? People who sold out need to get back in longs. People who were short are probably trapped. So that equals power. Gaps like this sometimes start a new move. And this gave you a quick move to the upside before consolidating, before going again. So tomorrow, obviously, as results come in, we might get a little push to the upside, or it might, inside day would be better. And then here is, the 50-day. So anyway, the 205 puts, which are right here, which means we would be well below, 2080 or the Friday low. That would obviously be, Trump wins. So you have 80 handles worth 80 cents. So I'm thinking, all right, if, I'm not going to be comfortably long into the election if Hillary wins, we'll probably get a move back up towards 216-ish, to start, and then who knows, maybe if we're up tomorrow, we sell up here, they fade it in, and then, they wait to see what happens, whether it's contested or not. I'm just trying to think ahead a little bit for you guys. But if Trump comes in and wins, because he's still a chance he could do that. I know a lot of people who voted Trump, and they didn't say they did because they're embarrassed, especially in Florida. Florida, I think Trump could maybe win, but I'm just a dumb technician. So anyway, so 80 handles down would be here, which I still think you'd be okay, because even if Trump wins and we open down 80 handles, I think maybe you get another day. I think we're going to, we would have some kind of snapback, because I do think, it'll be an opportunity, probably a better buyable opportunity with more, volatility, but whatever. So this was 80 cents, 80 handles below, and the 215s, which was 30 handles above, was like $1.30. So basically they're saying, okay, Clinton wins, we probably have room to here, and then you have to figure it out. A lot more things have to happen in order to get to new highs on the year. Probably ECB has to keep their pace of purchase. We have to have some good results. They still have to raise a quarter in December. So there's going to be some stages to get to there. We're not going to have Clinton win and then all of a sudden be at 2190. I don't think, But anyway, we'll see what happens here as far as, here's your gap up for now. If you went home long, okay, you did so. Today, we're still not overbought. We just worked off the oscillator, which was like minus 70. And unfortunately, I would have liked this to be Monday, right? At least if they would have given us a chance, okay, today, like a dreary day where everyone's debating, at least here we would have had a better chance to put on some kind of strategy, into the binary event. Now, it's right back in there, and if tomorrow we're a little bit higher, even it almost neutralizes it where we're not oversold anymore, so you're not going to save yourself by being oversold, and then we're right at a spot where, if we start breaking out, you don't want to feel like chasing. So this is what the market's done to us all year. If we go quickly to the Qs, talked about where they can get to, basically, here is your gap up now. It's going to have some pretty sizable resistance here. We'll see if it reclaims it or not. Closing the lows, gapped up. See if this holds now. Can't get too bearish, holding this. So at least we have these gaps now to, trade verse. But we have to get through, I think, obviously, Wednesday. Here's an oversold bounce gap too. We talked about it. I think there's room to 119.22, okay, or 120. This was, where it broke down from. So this is probably a spot where, again, I was like, okay, you could probably be long the Russell up till 118 and change, but you probably shouldn't be shorting it yet on the second up day after move from here, and at least wait till like 119 and change, or maybe even the retest of 120. So, you have a chance of trading out of it if it decides to just do one of these, through resistance, or one of these where just from here it looked like death too, and then 3 days up through the 21 day before coming in and proving that it could hold it. So here's, day one, day two, it still could push into here. So we'll see what happens there. And then all of a sudden the election happens, and who knows, it could be here. So just don't start shorting things too early. Okay. So the banks were definitely the standout. Goldman Sachs, higher high. Banks are strong. J.P. Morgan already, basically a higher high. So with Clinton as president, Fed probably does a quarter. Things are status quo, and banks are continuing to go. What did Bank of America do? Almost a higher high. So we'll see what happens. Now you have these, gaps to trade against, and I'm not in any of the banks, and these look very strong, very, very strong. Citigroup, what'd you do? Citigroup has some room, so maybe if the banks are going to stay strong, Citigroup was always the last to make a higher high. You're better off, I guess, going with the leader. And right now, it seems to be Goldman Sachs, so at least use that as a proxy. Wow, already made a higher high. Remember we said 188 and or 178. Well, now it seems like it's on its next leg. All right, so then we go to high beta tech. In the note also talked about where you could buy and where it can go to, and then where maybe it's a fade. Well, Google, we said it could probably get to what, a 803-ish. But be careful around 798, and I think it was 791 this morning. So there was some money to be there to play a bounce. At this point, if you look here now, it did get to where it kind of broke down from, and here's your moving averages. So now we'll see if it needs to hang out here a little bit. But decent, gap up. Unfortunately, it gave some relative strength signals the last 2 days, and I know a lot of us were trying to buy it. I just didn't take it home. And now I guess you'll see, an inside day tomorrow would be nice to give it a little bit more traction if it wanted to take this out. But, here it wound up hitting the 21 day. So a lot of these things engulfed the 8 day and, paused at the 21 day. So when that happens, you want to line them up. Pause at engulf the 8 day. So you don't want to you don't want to short the 8 day if all these other ones are taking out the 8 day. You want to say, okay, I can continue maybe to be long it, and then at least wait to the 21 day before I want to try and test a short, along the way up, and then the 50 days after that. So, Amazon did the same thing, where it engulfed the 8 day and still has some room to the 21 day if it wants it. It's a pretty strong day, gap up. You could trade versus gap. Facebook was pretty dead today. But we'll see at some point. Maybe there's a trade here into the gap. It opened up and did a whole lot of nothing. Netflix, also, not everything closed on the highs. Netflix opened up, cleared this little spot. Doji, with a little bit of time, we'll see if we can hang out in here to go again or not. Baba also, nothing. Gapped up and went red. So there were some things you could have, faded, just not the spiders today, if you were looking to do that. If you want to look at the spiders real quickly on a 5-minute too before I go, just to show you how you had a gap up in the beginning, and if you were waiting for the first hour, I posted the first hour. I said, if you want to trade verse, the 30-minute low, which was 211.30, and that was also the 60-minute low. And then once it broke above here, that was, at least if you were short, versus just say this little high, you could have got out here, and just say if you said, okay, I'm going to be long, and if it takes out, that 211.90, which is the higher end of the lower floor, I'm going to trade it up to 213. Here was your move to about 213 before it came in, and now then it closed on the highs. So there was ways to day trade this too if you're micro day trading and sitting in front of your desk all day. I wasn't in front of my desk all day. I had to go to Fox Business and work on this huge presentation for Schwab. So there are times when I'm wearing my chief strategist hat and I can't be trading all day long with all of you. That's why you have my note, which has all the points of reference and all the thoughts, and and then every now and then I'll throw something out there on Twitter land. But I'm not in front of my desk all day long. Sometimes it takes away from my cash flow from trading, but it is what it is. In a time like this, when everyone wants to know what the levels are, some strategies, etc. I'm more with my chief strategic officer hat on versus my sit at my desk and trade all day hat. Anyway, so here we are. At this point, there's definitely some room to go a little bit more tomorrow. Maybe it'll be an inside day, and then you have to figure out how you want to position yourself into the election results, tomorrow, night into Wednesday. Do you want to try and be long? If Hillary wins, maybe get a little follow through, and then, you could, probably maybe fade that on day 3, or do you want to be short just in case Trump wins and you get the home run, but then if he doesn't, you have 20, 30 handles of pain? Do you want to be long, and then if Trump wins, you have to deal with it? Do you want to sell some puts so maybe you have some room? Or do you want to just be flat and say, hey, I'm going to let this event go behind me. I'll wait for my setup. I'll be patient. Unfortunately, we didn't have the best setup, and we'll move on from there. Like a great setup would have been, almost on Sunday night, he came out and convicted her, and we were down 30 handles into an oversold tape. Then I'm sure we would have all been buying everything, and it would have been a nice little red to green trade. But it didn't happen. So let's get past it. Listen, go out and vote tomorrow. If you don't vote tomorrow, you can't complain, because you're not taking part in the system. And if you're yelling at the system, again, you can't complain if you don't partake. So with all that said, I'll be here tomorrow morning at the morning call. It'll be interesting the next few days, and we'll try and navigate it together. Have a good one.